Hi, and welcome to our 6th presentation from the 2017 TiddlyWiki Meetup. Hello, everybody. Hello. And this time I'd like to welcome Jed Carty, who's going to talk about his robot underlord. So do you want to tell us what you're going to show us, and then show us?
Well, I made my robot Robbie here, and it's made in JavaScript, and because I make everything use TiddlyWiki, I made an interface between TiddlyWiki and robot so that I can control the robot using TiddlyWiki, and it is still pretty rough, and most of my preparation was put into making this work, not in the presentation. So my presentation is going to be a bit rough. But yeah, I can move the robot around. And that makes me way happy with it.
So this looks like some kind of sophisticated crisp delivery system.
Oh yes, yes. The most pure use of technology is definitely to deliver a bag of crisps.
And would you like to comment on the split of the work between the duck and the robot?
Oh, well, the duck is obviously the most important part. Hans Duckwurst has been the main motivation and actually has carried the brunt of the work on this project. As sitting on the robot is obviously what you can do. His rival currently is Bjorn Mallinson, who is right now in the US. They're going to be meeting on Tuesday, I think, in Berlin. But
will you have robot wars?
I don't think in Berlin, but as soon as we get back to Paris, they're going to be very strong rivalries, at least. Which is unfortunate, as this is mini Robbie, and the full-size Robbie is about 5 times larger. So I think that Hans Duckwurst is in another trouble.
So Joe, to just walk us through the components that are involved in delivering crisps to the other side of the table, and then we'll have a look at the TiddlyWiki user interface.
Okay. Well, for the start of this, there are 3 main components. There's the physical hardware itself. There is the node script that makes the interfaces with the physical hardware and makes the robot side work. And there's the TiddlyWiki side, which provides all of the user interface and control. I had originally just made the robot part using Johnny 5 and some Arduino Firmata, but now it's using custom JavaScript all the way through. But so this is the TiddlyWiki interface. It's very simple right now. This is unfortunately my testing version. So normally down here you would see live updates of the gyroscope, magnetar, and accelerometer data and temperature. The version encoders are actually on this robot, so they would be there. And that would give you the heading in degrees from whatever the 0 point is, which is whatever Robbie starts looking at. But right now, this is the interface itself is done in a very simple way. The robot status is actually copied off of how TiddlyWiki status works, where there's a central JavaScript object that contains pretty much everything that has to do with how the robot functions and what it's doing. And by modifying properties of that object, we can make the robot do whatever we want it to do. So the interface between TiddlyWiki and the robot itself is just a single widget that can either set a property value in that object or read a property value from that object for getting feedback from it. And it uses WebSockets, but that part is actually something I don't know a whole lot about other than how to make it work. So I'm hoping that somebody here can help me that more. But that is most of Robbie if we don't get into the code. I'm not really.
So on the TiddlyWiki running in the browser is talking to the custom server that's running on the Raspberry Pi.
Oh yes, yes.
And and then the server on the Raspberry Pi has additional plugins that lets it interact with the robot via a Wi-Fi connection or something. Or is the Raspberry Pi in the robot?
Raspberry Pi is in the robot.
Okay, so the Raspberry Pi's I/O pins are going. Oh, let's have a close-up of that.
Yes, the Raspberry Pi here is actually the brain of the robot. Then it has, you can't see it in there too much, but there's just a cheap motor driver, and then I made a custom motor controller just using a PIC microcontroller.
What's a cheap motor driver? That's not a software driver.
No, that's the part that actually takes the power from the battery and pushes it into the motors.
And that's electronics.
That's analog electronics. That's
okay.
Not anything.
And that plugs into an output pin on the Raspberry Pi.
Yes. Well, indirectly. It plugs into an output pin on a controller that I made that plugs into the Raspberry Pi.
Okay.
Yes, the hardware side of this is probably more than we want to get into right now.
Elaborate.
Yes.
Okay, and so then on the, when you press the button here to make the robot go forwards, can you just walk us through what's happening?
So when I push the button here, what it does, this action set Robbie widget that I made, and it sets a key in the, a property in the JavaScript object, which is movement.direction, to 1, which is forward in this case. And then that gets sent, or that update gets propagated to the script running on Robbie through the normal TiddlyWiki mechanism, which uses WebSockets to send it to the other part of the JavaScript code, which updates the status object for the robot.
Yeah.
And then the robot has a supervisor part of it that just checks for updates to all of the properties that it has and changes direction and speed or whatever control signal is being used that way. And it's the robot code itself is very modular the way that TiddlyWiki is, and each one of the modules that it uses are almost completely independent of the other ones. The only thing they actually interact with is that central status object, and that was intentional to make it modular. And it turns out that doing that made it very easy to control using TiddlyWiki, because all you need to do is set a single key, and it will make the robot do whatever you want it to do. And this is currently a robot, but it can be much more than that. It does give an interface between the physical world and TiddlyWiki, which is, well, I made it, so I'm saying it's easy to use, but take that with a grain of salt. And you could do something like home automation from a TiddlyWiki using this, so you could do have a weather station that you can have the display in TiddlyWiki from this, or whatever it is that you would like to do in the physical world and control it from a computer.
So would it be fair to say that somewhere in the middle of this is a general purpose TiddlyWiki to Raspberry Pi setup? But then basically anything that you can do with a Raspberry Pi, you can roughly control with all those the steps that you've got.
Yes, that's kind of my current goal with it. Me and Matt were actually talking about this yesterday, where this was in terms of Arduinos, because you can use the same setup. It doesn't have to run on the Raspberry Pi. For testing, I just run it on my laptop here and plug an Arduino into one of the USB ports. And using that, there's a firmware you can put on an Arduino called Fermata. That's the Arduino app, which is a pass-through. And then you can control anything the Arduino can do without having to code the Arduino. Mm-hmm. And you can do it directly from TiddlyWiki itself. Unfortunately, I haven't had time to make good interfaces for that, but all of the pieces are here, and very soon, hopefully, all of the pieces will be released so that other people can play with it as well. But yeah, with that, there's some problems with proprietary things that my company is doing, but that just means I have to get approval from people I work with.
Yeah.
I can't release it, so it takes time.
Well,
yes.
So have you got anything in the TiddlyWiki that's reacting? I can see you showed us where you display the output of the sensors on the device. Have you got anything that shows a feedback loop where the TiddlyWiki sees something from the sensors and sends different commands as a result?
I don't actually have any good things like that set up. Unfortunately, I spent all of the time making it work, and then.
But so I saw that you've got accelerometer data on the device. So you could make it, you could detect when you're going uphill.
Oh, yes, yes. That's one of the things that I have been enjoying TiddlyWiki and working on and swearing at the past few months actually is a mildly sophisticated sensor fusion thing that takes accelerometer data and gyroscope data and the magnetometer data and actually builds an accurate representation of where the robot is in 3 dimensions. So the robot knows the direction it's facing in with relation to north. It knows all things like that. It knows its pitch and everything. Well, doesn't right now because I wrote that part of this one.
Yeah.
The big one does. In principle, he does. So actually, we've been using that for navigation. And there is a feedback loop between the robot code, and the robot code itself. It doesn't really change anything. That you can do things like make the robot go in a very, very straight line over bumpy ground or.
How does it do that?
It knows, it keeps track of its heading. I was hoping to have something set up here where I was going to pick up the robot and have it recording data and be able to show the path from Paris to here. Not quite that point yet, but
So is that code running? Can the, if we set the robot off down a line painted on the road, and then if somebody came along and pushed the robot, would it adjust itself back on
it would adjust itself to
the right heading, but it wouldn't be on the same line?
I am working to make it so it go back to the same line, but that's a more of a complex task than just keeping the same heading. So getting there, maybe another few months.
Do you have any interest in flying robots?
Yes, but they are. That is kind of saturated. Oddly enough, something like this, there is more openings in what you can do with this than with the flying robots because so many people are interested in the flying robots that that's where everybody's going. And also for the flying robots, you need approval from wherever you are.
Yes.
They're allowed in Paris unless you have.
No, you want to be in the third world to experiment with drones.
Yes.
Awesome. Any other questions or thoughts?
So, I don't know why it sounds like I'm turning around now.
So are we going to get some crisps or not? This is 20 minutes. No.
You got some? Maybe Robbie just likes calculating.
Finally. Yeah. Thank you.
I think you need to make a separate delivery from that. We'll build a robot maze.
I was asking on behalf of Xavier. So I was sitting here drooling, like, oh, when?
Robbie may be stuck.
And it's completed by
Okay, so if you want to ask for him, that's okay.
I didn't know what I was asking for. Good.
Yes, the transport very well. Yeah, unfortunately, the train doesn't work.
Oh,
one detail that you told me when we were outside earlier was how inexpensive it all was to run through the costings.
Yes, for this one, the chassis, the tank part itself, is actually by far the most expensive. I think that, well, I guess not by far, but that was about 40 euros, I think. But this code runs on, or can run on a Raspberry Pi Zero. And if you get a Raspberry Pi Zero W, it's, I think, 10 euros for that. The motor, controller, and driver together cost about 7 euros. And then whatever the chassis you get is, I think it can be very cheap. I'm hoping to get one of the little USB batteries and to just literally tape motors onto it, stick wheels in the motors and tape a Raspberry with it, and have like a little $10 robot or $15 robot that you can drive around the same as this, and you'd be able to serve TiddlyWiki off of it and do whatever else. And yeah, and with the Raspberry Pis, they have little Pi cameras that double the price of it because they're 25 euros or something like that. But you sit down in the front of it and stream video over it, and then go and spy on people using your little Raspberry Pi robot.
Well, we can, of course, this to the robot. And,
You're going to need to move them out of the cords there.
and then we can do some filming from the robot's point of view.
Yes, we have what it feels.
So we are getting a view over the shoulder of the duck. I can't remember the duck's name. And Duckworth. And hopefully, yeah.
Yes, I think we're going to pick him up and point him out. He's a bit stuck. Here we go. Okay.
That is amazing.
Yeah, so his right motor seems to have trouble going backwards, so it kind of makes a bit of a challenge right
I know how it feels.
And that was the last everybody saw it. All the stuff works just right in the battle. So yes, hopefully next year when there's the 2018 Delivery conference, we will have a much more sophisticated version of Robbie that will be able to carry my luggage and go out and buy us all sandwiches and pizza. Yes.
Just taking a word for it. We've seen the beauty aspect of it.
Yes, so I've shown the screen on it, and I think in a moment we should get Jed to plug in the projector and we'll just have a look at the software. But that's any other questions or thoughts? We'll draw the broadcast past the presentation to an end. Jed, thank you very much indeed for a great presentation. Oh, let's switch back to this. Thank you very much, Jed, for a great presentation. We'll look forward indeed to 2018 for more robot goodness.